How do you use seam allowance for perfect clothing alterations? Imagine fitting a suit jacket perfectly without any guesswork. The secret lies in understanding how to use seam allowance to make those precise adjustments. Seam allowance is the extra fabric between the stitching line and the raw edge of the fabric. It acts like a buffer zone that gives you room to alter the garment without damaging its structure. Most ready-made menswear has a seam allowance of about 5/8 of an inch or 1.5 centimeters. This size is standard because it provides enough fabric to sew, press, and let out if needed. Before you start, check the inside seams of your garment. Look for the stitching and see how much fabric is left beyond it. This extra fabric is what you can use to make the garment larger or smaller. To take in a piece, you sew a new seam closer to the center, using the seam allowance as your guide. For example, if the allowance is 5/8 of an inch, you can take in up to that amount on each side, reducing the total width by about 1¼ inches. When letting out fabric, you resew the seam closer to the raw edge, using the extra fabric in the seam allowance. If the original seam allowance is 5/8 of an inch and the seam was sewn 1/4 inch from the edge, you might have about 3/8 of an inch to let out on each side. Different parts of a menswear garment have varying seam allowances. Shoulders and armholes often have smaller allowances, around 1 centimeter or less, to keep the fit sleek and comfortable. Hems usually have larger allowances, about 2 to 2.5 centimeters, to make length adjustments easier. Fabrics that fray easily, like linen or lightweight cotton, need larger seam allowances to prevent unraveling. When working with a sewing machine, overlock or serger stitches typically use seam allowances of 3/8 to 1/2 inch. For jackets and suits, seam allowances can be more generous, sometimes up to 1 inch or more, to allow for detailed tailoring. When altering a jacket, focus on the side seams or the center back, which can be taken in or let out depending on your needs. Always measure the gap between buttons and buttonholes on the front to ensure the jacket closes smoothly without pulling. Using seam allowance properly means assessing how much extra fabric you have, then adjusting your stitches accordingly. This careful approach helps you achieve a perfect fit that looks natural and feels comfortable. Remember, understanding these details allows you to make precise, professional-looking alterations that respect the garment's original design and construction.